I let AI choose my next game and it chose Tunic. You may be thinking, oh look at that cute little fox. This looks like a cozy game. Can't be that bad. Well, you're wrong. Let's take a step back for a minute into the cozy world I thought I was entering. This game was so open, which felt really nice to begin with, full of confusion and wonder as to where to go and what was awaiting me. I spent some time wandering aimlessly about, trying to see what the world had to offer, figure out what the game wanted from me. Killed some mobs and checked some houses, opened some chests, and then I stumbled upon the Eastern Forest. This is where the game really doubled down on its cozy atmosphere. The greens really pop, and I just felt like Link, marching in, stick in hand, ready to take on anything. But as you can see, this is where the game started already ramping up the difficulty, and I still had no idea where I was going, so we just marched forward and hoped we were going in the right direction. I finally found my first telescope, and this gave me a hint at how big the area was, and I had an idea of where I was going now, but whether it was the right choice, this remains to be seen. I found my first instruction booklet, and as you can see, they're not so easy to read, but the thing I was wondering is, where do I get that sword and shield? I wandered about a little bit more and stumbled upon my first boss, and well, take a look for yourself how that went. The boss was the first real challenge of the game, and it made me start to reconsider what this game was actually about, but through some grit I was determined to get this done. Clutching up right at the very end, I breathed a sigh of relief. The Eastern Forest was done, at least for now. I spent hours wandering about. I didn't have a clue where to go. I was going in caves, stumbling in wells, and I managed to pick up a few key items along the way. I found a shield and a light that allowed me to go into darker caves, and it did give me a different side of the game where it wasn't all cute and cozy, but the frustration was really starting to grow. With my light I was able to explore this dark cave which was pitch black previously, called Dark Tomb, and I didn't even know if this was the right way to go, but I figured I've got the tools to go in here now, so we may as well find out what is laying at the other end. The Dark Tomb didn't offer much, but it did bring me to where I was meant to be going, and as you can see, this area is bigger than the Eastern Forest, and I'd consider this part of the main hub where you got the eastern side and this is the western side, and this leads off into various other areas, but for now this is where we're meant to be, and it's only going to get harder from here. We also met some new enemies in this area, some laser shooting robots and crocodiles, and yeah, things were starting to definitely go up a notch from the little blobs that I got to fight early in the game, and it didn't make it any easier not knowing how to upgrade still. So I still have basic health, basic stamina, and this made dying a drag because you always start back at a checkpoint. You gotta make your way over there. Sometimes it ain't so bad, but sometimes it can be pretty far. Alright, I finally found out how to upgrade myself. So with that, I got my attack up, my health up, my stamina up, my potions up, and this was definitely needed. I was losing my patience with this area and I was just way too weak, and I'm happy I figured this out before I got to the boss, because just wait and see how much I struggled with it. So here we are plodding along, no health, no potions, and oh shit, the boss is alive. So yeah, the first run did not go good. I'm just gonna get whacked to death straight away. But don't worry, I got a full clip coming. And here we are, multiple attempts later, and yeah, I learned its patterns, but it was still a challenge. It took about a good 30 minutes to get it, but this was probably the first real challenge, and this is only the second boss, so the game was starting to really surprise me with its difficulty. I was expecting something nice and easy, and this was proving anything but that. After the boss, spent some more time aimlessly wandering about, but I did find this vital piece of information that is important throughout the entire game, and now I know what the obelisks are for. Spent some more time exploring after this until I figured out where I was meant to go again. I would like to say it didn't take as long to find my next way, but that would just be a lie. In the end, I resorted to the guides on the PlayStation, like the trophy guides, the hints, but they're the only kinds of guides I've used throughout this game. I've played it completely blind otherwise, but started getting really tricky to figure out the next path where I was ready for the next boss. So I did resort to the hints made available. And here we are back at the Eastern Forest, but a different area, and even popped the lawnmower trophy whilst figuring this out. And now with the skills of knowing how to activate the obelisks, even though I walk past it, don't even think about it, but I'm sure it'll trigger in my head soon when I'm like, oh, there ain't anywhere else to go. but we can move forward with the game now at a decent pace. Of course I didn't finish the boss first time, that would just be ridiculous. But it took about another 20-30 minutes. I also found out that I had a staff in my infantry, which I did not even know about. And I found its weak point by this. So yeah, there's a lot of learning to come across with every boss. Which, as you can see, I do a lot more damage now just from hitting that weak spot. My control of the character is a lot better as well. And yeah, it was an enjoyable boss. With the boss down, we get a red keystone, and this is our main objective now. We need 3 of them, so we're further the way through this main story part. And yeah, I thought this was hard, but it's only gonna get harder, unfortunately. With the first keystone down, we go straight for the second keystone, which is a small beach area, and we're going into a library to fight a boss. And this is actually a really short area, thankfully, because the boss at the end of it really destroyed me, and this is where my patience started to get tested beyond my limits. So here we are in the library, about to climb to the very top of it to meet the boss for the very first time. I didn't know what to expect, I just knew I was gonna be in for a fight, as the last 2 bosses, they've just progressively got harder. And yeah, this one took me over an hour to figure out how to do, and even then I got lucky. This has so many skills from ranges, and I had to use my staff, which I was not so comfortable using. Killing these mobs to regain my mana, as the boss spends most of his time on the outside, occasionally teleporting inwards, as you see now. But otherwise it's a very ranged fight, and the staff does not do so much damage. And there's a lot of things to dodge, but I still think my first attempt wasn't too bad. But yeah, this was a lot of stuff to learn. So here we are. This is the one. 2 potions left, good health. Things are looking good, though my mana is very low. I've learned how to dodge a lot of the attacks, I've learned how to get some hits in. But I can feel my nerves getting really high now, as this is an hour deep. I did not want to die to mistake. These mobs were getting me as well, as you can see now. Like, even if you've got potions, that don't mean nothing if you can't use them. So I'll have a spam it, and I finally get it done. Second keystone in the bag, 1 left to go. So here we are, the final main area, but not the final boss and not the final challenge, but I knew this was gonna be rough. I'd entered the area beforehand and I was too early then, and as you can see I'm just getting wrecked right off the bat. So this is definitely my most hated area, and figuring out how to get through it, get to the boss, that was a challenge in itself. So what makes this area so difficult is this miasma that comes from the obelisks, makes your screen go purple, and if you look at my health bar, it is nearly disintegrated to nothing, so even health potions can't help me. But this is where I find probably the most broken item in the game, the gas mask. This neutralizes the effects of that miasma, so your health stays full and you're unaffected by the miasma, and it definitely changed the game when it comes to this area. I had it equipped for the rest of the game. I finally made it to the deepest part of the quarry, to the boss, and this one was hard, it hit hard, and this took me a while. It has a shotgun, a shield, and throws bombs, it has a sword, it covers the map. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Even though it feels like it's slow, it links attacks up and they're really hard to dodge. You have to use the barrels a lot of the time to dodge the shotgun, and yeah, hits like a truck basically. After my first attempt, I knew this boss was gonna be hard. It had a ton of health still when I died. I know how to change my tactics up, so I started using the shotgun, which hits really hard, and without it, I don't know if I could do it. It was not looking good on this attempt. I had no potions, I was really low on health. I had to just play it safe, play the waiting game, and he still nearly got me, but we managed to clutch up in the end and get the final keystone. So after putting all 3 keystones in, I expected something to happen, and to my surprise, nothing did. Didn't tell me where I was going, didn't tell me what to do, so again I had to turn to the PlayStation hints. I mean, even the trophy says what now, that's exactly what I was thinking. But we had to go to the final boss and actually let them kill me. So here we are, the final boss, and don't worry, this death is meant to happen, and I will get my revenge, let me tell you that. I thought this character was always a good character, but apparently not. And what this death does is it limits me to 2 bars of health, 2 bars of magic, and 2 bars of stamina. So all my upgrades are voided completely, even my attack, even my defense, everything. And now I had to go and pray to 6 shrines some hero shrines, and that would allow me to get an upgrade and get my original upgrade back. Now that I'm a ghost, the graveyard has opened up, and this is also where the cathedral lies, which is where we're going to next. This is the final part. There's a gauntlet waiting for me at the end with multiple different enemies, and once I've done that, then I can finally pray at the hero shrines, and you'll see why when I do it, and take on the final boss. So here we are, finally at the gauntlet in the cathedral. There's a wave of 6 different mobs. You get to choose which order to summon the mobs, and there's also a wave of just HP potions, so you get to choose when to summon. So if you're having difficulty after certain mobs, you can summon it then, or if you want to do like 3 or 4 waves, then you can do it after that. I didn't know what any of the enemies were, so I started with these mages, which actually end up being pretty easily. They all summon their square things roughly at the same time, pretty easy to dodge, get a few hits in on one of them. They teleport if you get too close. But yeah, even with these, you can see I'm having stamina issues because my stamina is so low in ghost form. But eventually I saved them to the end because they were safe, easy ones. So this next mob is the skeletons, and this was probably the second hardest mob for me. And it was just purely because of how many summon and how quickly you cannot kill another of them before they start spawning in. So the tactic I adapted in the end was forming a train and just sneaking in the odd hit when one got close, rolling away, let them pile into a train again, as you can see now. And this worked really well. There is a big skeleton that summons in as well, moves a lot quicker, hits a lot harder, can make things tricky. But after a few attempts I got these down as well, but it still wasn't the hardest one down here. This next mob was them flying robots. They're pretty simple. I just got the staff out, shot at them, and just need to be careful because of how low your health is, and they all shoot. So make sure they didn't catch her, like they nearly got me, and they did kill me once. But there ain't so many of them, they all die in one hit, so overall one of the easier ones. Another mob down here is the warriors, and they're also fairly simple, dying like 2 hits, 3 hits, and yeah, they ain't so bad. There is 1 or 2 with a shield at the end. They can be a bit more challenging, especially when you have one without a shield chasing you at the same time. So you need to make sure you get them all down pretty quickly. But after a few attempts you kind of learn how to do it, and if you run away far enough, then some of them go back to the spawning point. But yeah, as you can see, I now got I did have 4, I've got 3 of them chasing me, and then it can start getting a little overwhelming. Another mob that I face down here is these like ninja toads. They ain't so bad, they can do a lot of damage if they catch you, and they move quite quickly. But overall, still fairly simple. Like even the ones with the shields, you can just catch them, drag them to you, and they kind of wander a bit all over the place instead of rushing you. But that means I saved the hardest mobs for last. Wait and see this. So remember the boss that I fought in the Western Forest? Well, it's back in the gauntlet. Yay! I get to fight not 1 but 2 because, well, I can't even beat 1 that easily. So who the hell thought I could beat 2 of them? As you can see, I die pretty quickly and it is brutal. But I now know the order in which I have to face these enemies to stand a chance of getting through this. And here we are, finishing the gauntlet finally, saving the easiest for last. And this gives me a chest and a really important skill, not only in being able to defeat the final boss, but to be able to progress further and traverse better. I now get to teleport instead of dodge, which changes the entire game, and I wish I had this from the start. And here we are, getting close to the end of the journey, and these are the hero shrines I was on about that I need to pray at. There's 6 of them, and this will give me my upgrades. Each shrine gives me a specific upgrade, and once I have found all 6 of them, I get to fight the final boss, and the first one is stamina upgrade, which makes a big difference. It's the moment we've all been waiting for, the final boss, and this destroyed me. I can't even explain how many times I tried to kill this. It took forever. It has so many different skills. I even went and got the shield parry technique in the end, trying all different tactics, through throwing bombs, trying to freeze it, using my staff. But yeah, this took the difficulty, and when you ain't say none, yeah, it ramped it up to 100. You'd think you blocked, you didn't. You'd think you parry and you missed it. You'd think you dodge and you didn't. If you did dodge, sometimes it would happen after. It was just frustrating. And I was so close to turning on the accessibility options because I was struggling, but we persevered. And here we are, the final attempt. 3 hours of doing this boss. I finally got it done. As you can see, I learned how to parry a bit better, and that was the saving grace. It was all about taking it slow, taking it easy, just getting my hits in when I could, because this is a long fight. And I think now's a good time as any to share my thoughts on Tunic. Did I enjoy the game? I liked it, but I didn't love it. The opening was nice, it felt cozy, it felt like a game you could sit back and relax on, and whoa, you couldn't. It became brutal pretty quickly, but the things I liked were the environment. It felt smooth and it felt well prepared, and had a lot of surprises, even down to the final boss, the only boss with a second phase, which pulled out all the guns. The things I didn't like though were constantly wandering about. I didn't know where to go. All the instruction booklets were in a different language, which just did not help me, like in a made up language. And I was trying to play without a guide as well, which yeah, obviously made it harder. I could have just used the guide and figured out where to go. I didn't have the accessibility options on either, which I don't see the point in having an invincibility. It just takes away the point of the game. Then I can just go up to the final boss and whack it over and over, and that's not fun then. The fun part was learning the bosses, but the difficulty did rank up quite a lot. Like, I never even know how to parry in this game. I figured it out, and this is the only time I ever needed to parry was the final boss. And yeah, I guess with the final boss it's good that you need to use all your skills. Use the shotgun, I parried, I'm using freezing bombs, and it is pushing me to the limit anyway. But yeah, I think the lost confusion was what made it the worst. I'd probably rank it a 5 out of 10. But I'm gonna leave it here now with this clutch finish on a parry with no health, and then the trophy popping in the end, the platinum one. I still had a bit of cleanup left to do, collectibles and that I'm gonna skip on this time, and I'll just show the platinum popping after. But I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed the idea of AI picking my games just from a list of my entire catalogue that I gave it. And if you have any suggestions as well, leave them in the comments. I have a massive library. I have over 600 games and the whole PS Plus catalogue. So you can always drop a game in, a high chance I have it. And if not, if I like the idea of the game, then I might go out and buy it. And I haven't got a platinum since October, so this is why I was pretty happy with getting a smaller game to try and get some momentum going. And this will be the style of video I'll be doing with the channel moving forward, so don't forget to drop a like and subscribe.